Hey guys, my name's DocJade. I'm sure you've played Factorio baked, but have you ever baked in Factorio? Baketorio is a mod that adds a wide variety of baked goods to make, allowing you to undertake baking fake cheesecake near a lake. I'll shuffle the seat a bit, then let's get started. We landed in a decently forested area, and there's a new resource on the ground. Salt. We'll look at it later. First up is the usual rocket debris, trees, and rocks. A grain of salt for safekeeping, then in goes iron and copper production. With enough iron to unlock steam production, I'll make supplies for power and start stockpiling some coal. Taking a look at the new Factorio buildings, there's a greenhouse, whatever an organic synthesizer is, and chemical plants are unlocked a bit earlier than usual. As for items, there's wheat seeds, which are made of wood, and more wheat-related things that you'll see later, and a tab full of level 1 nutrients. I wonder what they're for. After constructing and powering some pylons, let's take a look at our first science, which is unlocked by making a lab. Baking science, which is made of 5 salted hardtack, or 2 loaves of bread. Salted hardtack is made by putting salt on hardtack, and hardtack is made by baking flour, which is grown in greenhouses from the previously mentioned seeds of wheat. I'll make a synthesizer and a greenhouse. In goes the wood, and I have a feeling we'll need quite a bit of salt, so let's start stockpiling some. But there's this spider nest over here that we'll need to take out. Armor and bullets, but the nest has worms. Yeah, I'm not dealing with that right now. Salty, I went back to wheat production. No water or anything, just seeds and electricity. Every time the wheat grows, there's a 10% chance of getting an extra seed, which sounds nice at first, but it'll become a byproduct later. With a loop in place to keep growing the wheat, I'll turn it into flour, then chuck it into a brick oven to make hardtack. 3H plus 1S equals 3 salted hardtack, but the science takes 5. Another round, and we can make our first science, which I'm starting to realize is going to be quite a pain to make a lot of early game. First up to research, automation, 10 science. After that, we can unlock bread, which will hopefully make baking science cheaper. Time to scale up wheat, but instead of more chests, I have a better idea. You can use the crashed ship as a giant chest, which can be quite useful in the early game for malls like this, although 5 slots is a bit constraining. More wheat and tack later, down goes the first assembly machine, which has a new window up at port bow. NutriGen. You can select baked stuff in here. I'll take a look at it later once I have some. For now, automatic wheat milling, time killing, and lab refilling. Then I'll get turrets so we can take out these salt biters. Biters got buffed pretty hard in 2.0, and I'm still not used to it, so I had to retreat a few times. But eventually, the salt mine is squarely mine. Then I'll research leavening to unlock bread. Dough is made of flour and water, which you bake directly into bread in a furnace. Usually you need to wait until you have level 2 assemblers to make recipes with fluids in them, but Baketorio adds an input to level 1s as well. Relocating the greenhouses, I made a setup to get bread. Wheat, flour, dough, bread. I'll mash it till it bleeds, then we can research something. Level 2 nutrients. There's more of them? Weird. Maybe they're like a productivity module. I tried putting some level 1 nutrients into science production using the NutriGen window, but it looks like that window is just for selecting nutrient recipes, not actually using the nutrients. Darn. There's also level 3 nutrients, which there are quite a few recipes for. Moving on, we'll research logistics, military, radars, and electric mining drills. Which goes first? I wanted to see if the dough would be used for anything else, and there is a lot of new bakeable items, but dough is only used in bread, so it shouldn't go on the bus. Electric mining drills. Let's upgrade iron and copper. Logistics, and I also added fast inserters to the queue. The iron and copper patches overlapping might be an issue later, but for now, 4 drills for each, then we'll need to decide where the bus will go. Vertical buses suck, and we'll need this oil eventually, so we'll go west. Belts, fast inserters, military, then in goes the smelting arrays. I have a bad habit of building way too big, way too early. Luckily, I still haven't learned my lesson. So in goes 48 furnaces for iron and copper. Oops, I forgot to run a belt for coal. Radar, now for steel. Then I stole science production, which has already made quite a few extra wheat seeds. I'll have to plan for that in the bigger designs. After northern nest neutralization, I built the first half of iron production, forgot about copper, then designed steel production. With some very slow belt production in hand, I finally got around to copper, made temporary green circuit production, and inserter production. With iron and copper half done, I filled in steel, then put gears on the bus, cause you can't stop me. With the metals bus done, now for baking ingredients. Up comes the salt, then I built quite a bit of wheat production, but this should be enough to fill a yellow belt. Up top, we'll filter out the extra seeds so the belts don't clog. But that's assuming I built it right, which I didn't, but I don't know that yet. Out comes the sheaves of wheat. After an hour of base preparation, we can finally rebuild science production. Turning the wheat into flour, then splitting that off to make dough. I'm not aiming for a ratio, I'm just going with the flow. Over comes coal, then blah 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 blah. Sidetracked! Okay, down goes the blueprint, in goes the inserters, and out comes the bread. Whole wheat bread. Poor Factorio guy can't even have sourdough. Finally, I reset up the science. Easier than pie, which we will make later. Steel processing finishes, and production immediately starts up. Now for those level 2 nutrients, which will let us research animal husbandry for cows and chickens. Eggs are made from chickens and nutrients, and chickens are made from scratch, which means chickens come first in the Baketorio universe, and you can hatch eggs for a chance to unbox a chicken. Cows are made from level 3 nutrients, and when fed level 2 nutrients, they make unpasteurized milk, which needs to be pasteurized into milk and cream, which you can filter again to make more cream, make frosting with sugar and cream, churn butter from cream, then solidify that churned butter into sticks. Unlike real life, cows don't lay eggs in Baketorio, but you can breed them with level 2 nutrients. And finally, you can make eggy bread with eggs alongside your flour. Quite a lot to do, but we're not done yet. Now for sweeteners, which unlocks sugarcane, the seeds for it, sugar, and sugary bread. But there's still one more thing before that science, which is baking. But we'll look at what it unlocks as we go. Batter Science Pack. To make batter science, we'll need frosted basic cake and frosted basic cupcakes. This is gonna be a nightmare. Working backwards, the frosted basic cake takes frosting and unfrosted basic cake. The frosting is sugar and cream. Unfrosted basic cakes are baked from raw basic cake shapes, which are made of basic cake batter. Basic cake batter is made out of eggs, flour, sugar, butter, and milk. Oh boy. Well, it's time to make milk. Raw milk, pasteurized milk, filter the milk, churn the milk, and solidify the butter. Oh, and don't forget sugarcane. We'll need to grow that too, which takes level 1 nutrients as a fertilizer. Quite the chain of ingredients. Greenhouses for the cows to live in, but I can't summon any cows to put in them since that takes level 3 nutrients, which y'all need to unlock first. Oh my... After looking through all the recipes one by one, turns out I can't make cows without having eggs first. However, to make the level 2 nutrients to construct the chicken, I'll need sugary bread. So, what came first? Well, sugar, then chickens, then eggs, then cows. Sugar production is about 1 to 2, and it'll go right next to the baking bread cartel. With everything in place, I realized I forgot to make the nutrients, which we'll make from bread and hardtack. In goes hardly any tack, which snakes its way through the bus. Now we can make the sugarcane seeds. But I also forgot to put the nutrients into the greenhouses. But sideloading a belt fixed that. With glucose gathered, now for that sugar-saturated bread. We're already up to 6 belts of baking items. Oh boy. Combining both types of carbohydrates, out comes level 2 nutrients. Wheat supply is starting to sag though, so I built the second half of it after fixing our coal supply. After assembling a chicken and confining it to a greenhouse, I'll start hatching the eggs to stockpile chickens before moving into mass producing eggs. Seeing the chickens being swung in and out of the greenhouses is quite entertaining. The chickens are a bit hungrier than expected though. They're sucking back our entire wheat supply. So I had to upgrade wheat again. More chickens to keep eggs running at full tilt, then up comes the bus. Now we can make eggy dough to bake and combine with sugary bread for some level 3 nutrients. Eggy bread is made exactly like sugary bread, but this time it's keto friendly. Once the food was bussin', down it comes for level 3 nutrients, and we can make our first cow. I'll let them get freaky for a little bit, and make some greenhouses. Since each milking takes 1 cow and produces 1 cow, I'll set up the greenhouses in pairs. But as usual, I forgot it took nutrients. After actually feeding the cows, they start making unpasteurized milk. I have a feeling that milk processing is going to be quite big, so I'll start with 6 chemical plants for pasteurization. As the milk moved past my eyes, I realized there's quite a large imbalance between milk and cream, so I'll need tanks to prevent clogging, which I can't unlock until I finish batter science. Crap. Well, what's next? Cake batter. Right, butter. Butter churning turns 20 cream into 10 liquefied butter, and a stick of butter is made from 5 liquefied butter. The solidification is wicked fast though, so we can use quite a few churners, although I do have to constantly clear the milk pipe to unclog the system. I want to fill in the gaps on the top side of the bus, but I really don't want to move butter this far back, so at the front it goes. Cake batter is twice as fast as cake shaping, so 1 to 2, milk goes in 2, times it by 2, in goes the furnace stack, and we'll need to put frosting on that. Frosting is made from cream and sugar. Once everything was hooked up, that's the first half of baking science. Now for the cupcakes, which are the exact same processing chain as cake, just with a different cake shape. Copy, paste, build, connect, and we're out of butter already. I forgot that you can refilter milk to make more cream, so with that crammed in, butter production is slightly better, but it looks like milk processing is just going to have to be even bigger than I was expecting. Cupcakes are slowly making their way up, and we're now averaging around 1 science per maybe. Into the lab it goes, and what I really want to research first is productivity to make science cheaper, especially since the next science, flavor science, looks a lot more complicated, taking donuts, cheesecake, and coca, which unlocks a lot of chocolate-related stuff. Looking ahead even further, purple science is locked behind yellow, which is pretty strange. Anyways, I started researching oil processing, made even more milk processing, which finally fixed butter, but then we immediately ran out of sugar. So I doubled it, then increased flour production as well. Research is very slow. Like, very slow, very slow. So slow, it's slow kind of slow. Slow enough to be considered slow kind of slow. I doubled sugar again, then researched red belts to crank out even more wheat. More power production, then the chickens started complaining about a lack of nutrients. Begrudgingly, I increased their bread rations again. Oil gathering. Now I can finally set up some pump jacks, which unlocks oil processing. And goes all of the oil products into the queue. Then I'll run the oil all the way up to the top of the base. Since science takes a long time to make, I doubt we'll need to worry about our oil output or plastic output, since we'll have plenty of time to stockpile it for blue circuits later. I started cleaning out room, but there's not much point in setting everything up until we can actually make plastic, so while waiting on that, I upgraded milk processing a bit more, making sure to automatically disable pasteurization so we don't clog the system. Egg supply is also still lacking, so I upgraded those cluckers as well. Sulfur. Building a base this big, this early, is sucking back a ton of power. Bigger coal mine, more steam engines. Wheat clogged on its seeds. My splitting system didn't work, so I had to manually clean it out. Then I upgraded it more again for good measure. The amount of extra seeds we get at these larger scales is getting pretty silly. Yet again, milk isn't keeping up. We need more cream for frosting. This milk setup is getting bigger than some endgame oil setups. Plastic! Let's start stockpiling it. 1 refinery and 1 chemical plant should be plenty. While I wait for red circuits and modules to finish, we'll need frosting for quite a few things later, so I'll whip it into shape and nay it onto the bus. Red circuits. Just 1 assembler for now. In goes sulfur and ic acid. Then I scaled up red circuits. I'll actually need quite a few for modules. Speaking of which... Quick note, productivity modules do not work in any of the baking-related recipes. This is a bug that got fixed 2 years ago, but I think 2.0 broke it again. I tried to track down the issue and commit a fix, but I'm unfortunately not very good at Lua, so I wasn't able to figure it out. So, as of right now, we can only use productivity modules in the labs, which is going to make the run a lot harder. Back to the video. I'll make some productivity modules for the labs. Time to start getting ready for flavor science. But for coca, we'll need to unlock level 4 nutrients. And holy crap, there's a lot of recipes for it. In goes cake batter mass production. We'll need it for a few things later, so it deserves a spot on the bus. Donuts unlocked, and productivity finally goes in the labs. Caked up, I unlock cheese. With how large these builds are, we'll definitely need to speed up things later when I inevitably underbuild something, but level 3 assemblers are locked behind purple science all the way at the end of the game, so we'll just queue speed modules. Eggs are cracking under the pressure of the new production quotas, so we'll need even more nutrients. Not those nutrients. I'll use the extra sugary bread to make even more level 1 nutrients. Speed modules. Now for coca. More nutrients, faster belts, and more productivity, but once again we're getting dangerously close to our power budget. Those greenhouses suck back quite a lot of power. We'll grab efficiency modules to make them even greener later. With coca and efficiency modules unlocked, now for flavor science. Then mining productivity. We're chewing through our coal patch scarily fast. In goes efficiency modules into everything fast enough, and speed modules into everything too slow, including chickens. Not sure how that works, but maybe they're bionic. Okay, first up for flavor science is donuts, which are made from fryer dough, which is almost the same as cake batter, just with salt instead of sugar. Off camera, I've been holding back the biters from expanding too close to the pollution cloud, but now they're so far away that I'll have to invest in a car. I was going to bring cake for healing, but cake heals less than fish. Unhealthy food doesn't give much health. Who would have thunk? More efficiency? Then I drove off to do some cleanup. This is why you always bring materials for a second car. The biters are still pretty tricky, even with some ammo upgrades. I would unlock military science, but it's usually such a pain to set up that I just avoid it. Oh, salted hardtack. Might as well. A lot more cleaning, but the health of the nests is getting pretty high because of evolution, so bullets are getting less and less effective. Luckily, with military science, we can unlock flammables and flamethrowers, which should work a lot better. Although, in the darkness here, most of the iron miners have dried up. So, time for ore mixing. Yum. There's a lot more copper than iron, so we'll have to buffer quite a lot of it. Flamethrower ammo in hand, nest cleanup became a lot easier. It would also be really nice to have some personal robots to help with building, so we'll aim for those right after we finish blue science. With the cook back in the kitchen, time to make the rest of these science ingredients. We'll need cheese for the cheesecake. Wait, let me Google something. Oh, I always thought cheesecake was just a nickname, kind of like carrot cake. Wait a second. What? After splitting the cheese, time for brownies, which are made of chocolate batter, which is cake batter and cocoa powder. We'll need to grow the beans for that. So once again, another greenhouse array. And the beans take level 3 nutrients, which I'll bring over in just a moment, right after we make the actual seeds, which take level 4 nutrients. Once I found the needle in the haystack, we can handcraft a few of the nutrients and make some seeds. In goes the nutrients, out comes the beans, which are only used for cocoa powder, so we'll immediately pulverize them to death 10 seconds after they're born. The resulting powder is used to make the chocolate batter we looked at earlier, but it's also used to make chocolate chip cookie batter. Since those are the only 2 items it makes, and they're made of the same ingredients, I'll make the doughs on site instead of putting the powder on the bus. Now for the cheesecake. Cake and cheese, which we'll have to shape, then bake. They bake quite slowly though. Time for steel furnaces. Oh, and concrete, which I have a track record of forgetting to make for this silo until the absolute last moment. I'll stockpile some bricks immediately, and once again the coal patch is getting scarily low. Most of our coal goes to power production. Maybe we could switch to solar panels? I'll throw some in a chest for later. With the steel furnaces in, cheesecake goes onto the bus. Time for the frosted donuts, which are shaped then baked out of fryer dough. It sounds weird to bake a donut, since you usually fry them, but baked donuts are actually quite a lot better than fried donuts in my opinion, since they tend to be a little bit denser like cake. Now I'm hungry. And so are the boilers. We've hit the tipping point where we can't power the coal mining, which will death spiral pretty quickly if we don't fix it. Solar panels would come to the rescue, but there's only 16 in here. I'll put them down, then fix the mining setup for iron. We couldn't make the solar panels due to a lack of iron for green circuits. Copper was clogged, so in goes more storage. Accumulators. Those will be handy for solar later. But we don't have enough solar or time to make the switch right now, so we'll need to grab another coal patch. This one looks good. We'll bring it back to the base with a train. Pro tip, if you need to ghost something that you haven't unlocked yet, you can go into the remote view with the map, then hit E to select any item in the game. Super useful for items on grids. We'll need to kickstart that mine though, so I reduced the density of the current coal mine and disconnected the rest of the base to build a coal buffer. Train in hand, I moon pie walked back to the base, put in the drop-off, finished the pickup, and that should keep us powered for a while longer. Bulk inserters to load and unload faster too. I also made them wavy because why not? Power is back up to snuff, but I do still want to eventually move to solar to reduce our pollution output. Anyways, back to donuts. Baked tori go on the bus, which unfortunately has hit a wall here. That cliff would be a pain to build around, so instead, time to head north. And I decided to properly space out the bus this time since it's getting distastefully wide. Looking at all the ingredients like this, I'm not sure I can keep working with a bus. Pulling things off of this is starting to get pretty silly. So, time for a different approach. Recently I've been having fun with double-headed trains, thus I designed a station so we could have a train for every ingredient. Only problem is, building a rail base without bots. Not really feasible. I counted up all the science, and we'll need a bit under 400 blue science to unlock the bots. Time for a temporary setup to crank it out. First up, brownies. Easy as cake, actually easier since we don't need to shape it. Then in goes cheesecake, which we already baked, and frosted donuts, which we're pre-prepared to make. In those go, and out comes 2 science every 24 seconds. Brownies relocated, and blue science reconfigurated. You're too close, buddy. After caramelizing some buggians, we've got more than plenty of blue science. Popping bots onto the stack, researching that, then lube, electric engines, and batteries. Robot frames get given names, and my power armor is properly prepared. Just in case, I'll stuff some roboports in a chest for later. Finally, 12 hours before robots is pretty rough. I thought about the train base for a bit, and I realized I don't really want to defend a train base. So, time for a different approach. We'll still use trains, but only one. Like in my one wagon video, you can pretty easily build a base off of a train, but with unlimited wagons and no bacon, there's a few optimizations we can make. We'll have multiple wagons, and each wagon will be filtered to hold all of the ingredients we'll need for baking and science. I tried to design a way to load 12 belts into one wagon, but I couldn't figure it out. So instead, we'll combine all of the belts into one item per side, then feed in 6 per stop. If we only move forwards a little bit at a time, we can keep loading more wagons to feed production with, while at the same time, we can take out items from wagons further up the train. Loops are boring, so this train will be double-headed, and it'll reverse once it hits the end of the line, like a delicious typewriter. I will have to downscale cocoa production to make room for the rail though. Actually, we could speed up the wagon by having a locomotive every other wagon, which in theory would reduce the throughput, but I bet we'll be mostly limited by train movement speed anyways. With the first 2 stations in to load up the initial wagons, we can tack production right above the rail, directly inserting items in and out of the cargo wagons. I recreated blue science as a proof of concept, which worked well enough to commit to the idea, although resetting is pretty slow. With outputs for the sciences, that's our new blue science setup done. A long belt back to the labs later. I'll queue all the materials for the rocket, blue circuits, rocket fuel, and low density structure. But, butter needed to be improved further. Iron keeps clogging, and will run out pretty soon, so time for another patch. Forest fire, a couple of miners. In goes the other sides of the smelting arrays, because I felt like it. We won't need blue circuits for anything except the rocket silo and rocket parts, so once again, a little setup for them. Flour is also low, but I'll put off expanding it for now. Stack inserters to load the train faster, and rocket fuel. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I queued everything for pastry science, and the train is working surprisingly well, but I think we can make it just a tad better. When the train pulls away, the shorter recipes like donut frosting quickly run through their internal buffers in the assemblers. But with a tiny bit of circuitry, we can buffer extra items in a chest for the assemblers to work through while the train is away. More blue science. Man, that iron mine is kicking out a ton of pollution. I'll have to do some more biter cleanup. But first, cinnamon, which is grown from level 4 nutrients. Time to find a recipe for it. I settled on making frosted chocolate cake and donuts. It was easy to add, just a couple shapes, bakes, and filters in the wagons. Cleanup time and productivity 2 modules. Even though science production is a lot better now, we'll still want productivity 3 modules for the rocket silo later. Biter flambe, barbecue, and saganaki. Opa. Level 5 nutrients. Oh boy. Let's grow the cinnamon, but we'll need level 4 nutrients to put into them. We do make it on the train, but I doubt it'll be fast enough. Level 4 for the cinnamon seeds, then we'll put the nutrient production and greenhouses right above the train. Looking through the recipes again, we can make it out of cheesecake and brownies, which is way easier than frosting things. In goes the green apartment block for cinnamon, who will be getting a blueberry neighbor shortly. Blueberries were the last prerequisite for pastry science, so let's take a look. The science is made from cinnamon rolls, blueberry muffins, and blueberry scones. 3 brand new items. This should be fun. And in preparation for dessert science, I'll queue strawberries as well. Raw cinnamon needs to be processed into cinnamon sugar, which I'm sure you can guess the ingredients for, but apparently I couldn't. That's flour. Once that was fixed, down they go to be loaded onto the train, right below brownies. Now for blueberries, which take level 5 nutrients. Time to look again. Cinnamon rolls and brownies. Raw cinnamon rolls are rolled from fryer dough and cinnamon sugar. Up comes the fryer dough, and I built low density structure for some reason. And out comes the rolls, which roll up, get baked, then iced. We'll need those rolls for the science, so I'll split it off to load onto the train, and the other half goes to nutrient production. In goes the brownies, then down goes blueberry growing. Time to make the seeds. Wait. 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 No! Turns out I misread the ingredients. I accidentally made level 4 nutrients a second time. Level 5 nutrients takes chocolate cake. My mistake. Cake gets in shape, goes on a hot date, then I don't have an analogy for that, but this is level 5 nutrients. For real this time. 6 minutes later, blueberry seeds and a bit of reorganization, since we'll need to put strawberries up here later as well. Blueberries and cinnamon rolls locked and loaded. Time for blueberry muffins and scones, which are made from blueberry batter, which is cake batter with blueberries. I've never had a scone before, but I do love me a blueberry muffin. Now for the science. But we quickly run out of chocolate batter due to a cake batter shortage due to a butter shortage, yet again. Moreization on open pastures. Wheat seeds have been slowly piling up in the background. That 10% chance at an extra seed quickly adds up over so many greenhouses, so I have to occasionally swing by and burn the excess. Faster milk, more flour, and hey batter batter. With Choco late, now on time, pastry science is trying to start up, but flavor science is eating all of the cake batter, leaving nothing for muffins. After laying off a dozen bakers, pastry science comes up to temp. I'll extend the stations again to make more room for dessert science, then I swap the fuel out in the return train for rocket fuel, which makes resets a lot faster. A lot is relative though. Strawberries! Next up for dessert science is advanced baking, which unlocks soda ash, which is made from baking trona. Weirdly, you need oil to mine trona. I'll do that later. Let's research chocolate chip cookies and ice cream instead. For dessert science, we'll need cookies, brownies and ice cream, blueberry pie, and frosted advanced cake. Oh boy. Well, I'll build strawberry production. We'll need them for advanced cakes later. Luckily, it's level 4 nutrients again, just like blueberries. Trona is lingering in the back of my mind though, and I don't remember seeing it anywhere. Chocolate chips, and I could not for the life of me find a patch of Trona, until I remembered I can just search for it. One patch out of this entire area. Huh. We'll need a train for that. I'll sneak it next to oil processing for easy access, then make my way up. I can't place or ghost the miners until I research how to mine the Trona, so I'll have to come back later. Almost forgot about the new items. Chocolate chip dough is only used for chocolate chip cookies, so they're immediately baked and loaded onto the train. Fluid wagon for the Trona train, which gets loaded with oil, then I planned out the rest of the Trona mine using assemblers for spacing. Small detour. The base is getting so long that walking back and forth is starting to take about half a century each way, so I think I deserve some exoskeletons. To save even more science, I've been slowly upgrading all of the productivity in the labs to level 2, which now get a level of lab research speed as a treat. After waiting for ice cream to research, I built it, but I forgot to hit record. Ice cream is made of sugar and milk. Easy recipe, but each ice cream item takes 2 minutes to make, so you have to build quite a lot. With the ice cream though, in goes brownies and ice cream, and out comes brownies and ice cream. Yep, more screams for ice cream, and we're still running low on cake batter. This time it's due to a flour shortage. Another line of greenhouses below milk production for flour, building of which takes about a quarter hour, and we unlock pie. Bagged and belted, onto the bus it goes. Pie is easy as, well, I don't know, but it's just fryer dough and blueberries, then baked till golden brown. Supply chain issues are back. Eggs are low on nutrients yet again, which I improved, but it was still too slow to feed production for chocolate cake, so we're out of berries. I added more speed modules, but we've hit our power budget yet again, so I added even more steam power, but now we can't get enough coal. Yeah, no more getting out of it, it's time for solar power. Which helped a bit, but I immediately followed that up with even more egg production, this time powered by sheer will and cheese. So now the power issues are back, and the pollution cloud is starting to spread into biter territory again. More cleanup, but I'm struggling to keep up with how fast the cloud expands at this point. We have to reduce our pollution output somehow. Ooh, advanced baking. Now we can cue dessert science and the rest of the steps to the rocket, which includes another nutrient level for some reason. We should really fix power issues and pollution before starting on that though. That would be the responsible thing to do. I went to set up the Trona mine, but the Trona can't be mined since you can't mine it without first researching uranium mining to let the drills use fluid. We have everything ready for dessert science except for the frosted advanced cake, which is made from advanced batter, which takes salt, baking soda, cake batter, and strawberries. Baking soda is made from Trona, so after waiting for the uranium and reserving spots for the new cake, we can finally add the drills for Trona. Back in the kitchen, off comes the Trona, which we will smelt to turn it into soda ash. Then we mix that ash with coal and water to get baking soda. One very long pipe later, the baking soda gets belted onto the train, and in goes the furnaces to bake the sophisticated cake. Back it travels, and dessert is served. Making dessert science is pretty slow, so I finally have nothing better to do than fix power issues. Switching to solar power will remove most of our pollution output, since a vast majority of it comes from our steam power setups. A quick solar design, then I'll stick a roboport in the middle, and slap a few of these down under the base. Making the solar panels is super slow, but we've got plenty of time. While the bots fill in the solar, we can reduce power usage throughout the base by cramming efficiency modules into anything we can get our hands on. After holding a performance stand-up with the chickens to foster group cohesion and banning bathroom breaks, I cranked out even more efficiency modules. We're down 20 megawatts so far, and the solar output is just about to surpass steam during the day. Fun fact, pollution in Factorio is multiplied by a machine's power consumption, so putting efficiency modules in your mines can reduce your pollution output quite a bit. Power consumption is now down to about half of what it used to be, and steam power barely runs during the day. Pollution is plummeting as well. Level 6 nutrients. This looks complicated, but I won't need it for anything anyways. Oh. Wait, so I stockpiled all of those rocket ingredients for no reason? Well, one of the level 6 recipes is blueberry pie and advanced cake, so we can steal some from dessert science and start stockpiling it. With productivity modules in the silo, we'll need about 600 of those nutrients. I do have a bunch of extra rocket fuel now, so might as well toss it into the rest of the trains. Yeah, that's a lot faster. Just waiting around for science now, so there's not much to do. I did research a level of train braking force for fun though, but it hardly made a difference. More waiting, and we've got all of the nutrients ready for the rocket now, so we should be ready to go. Wait a second. Concrete. I swear I'm allergic to remembering it. I'll grab the rest of the rocket silo materials, and there was so much extra science chilling in the belts that I researched more research speed and swapped out all the productivity modules for speed modules. 15 minutes to go. Rocket silo. You're supposed to put a satellite in there, but I've got a better idea. Assembling it by hand, down it goes, and in goes the modules. Yeah, this is too slow. We've got extra science though, so let's grab beacons. Now we're cooking. There's our rocket, which is made entirely from blue raspberry rock candy. Let's give our beloved chicken employees a vacation. Huh? Back in my day, before Factorio 2.0, you could launch whatever you wanted into space, but now you can only send satellites. Bummer. Let's lunch. Oh, I need a landing pad too? More concrete! There! Now get out of here. Just under 23 hours. I'd like to take a moment to thank my supporters on Ko-fi. Baketorio is one of the mods of all time. The early game is brutally long, to the point where the creator themselves told me they've never gotten past green science, but is it worth playing? Well, the main issue I had with the mod was a lack of productivity, but once that bug is fixed, if you want a silly mod to play, sure, why not? If you want to kill a weekend, this is a decent mod for that. It's not overly complicated, and there's a lot of other baked goods that aren't required to beat the mod, but you can make them if you want, and if you do make them, you can make nutrients out of them, so they're still useful. It's also space age compatible if you want to do interplanetary proprietary baking for some reason. The nutrient recipe selection is a bit of a pain, but there's plans to hide the recipe combinations that you can't make, so you don't have to sift through all 8,000 of them when you unlock a new nutrient, like I did. With time, Baketorio should get those hard edges smoothed out, although the mod is currently maintained by one guy. But it's open source, so if you know Factorio modding, or are a talented 3D artist, you should go help out. You can find the GitHub repo in the description. But that's all for today. My name's DocJade. Bye-bye.